As far as booking bands and sending out contracts, that's not hard to do. She's currently interviewing bands, finding bands that have Facebook following, bands that are going to bring a crowd in. We already know which bands brought crowds in the last 2 years or last year, which ones that didn't. They're weeding them out. They're taking suggestions from the community. Fundraising, Paulette has spent probably 40 hours going on to banks, Air Products. Most of those, you can't just go knocking on the door asking for money. You have to fill forms out online, and it's a very, very long process, and she's been spending a lot of time doing that for next season already. She is trying to have, for the first time, all the bands booked before budget season so that you know how much it is, so that they can move forward with knowing what they need to raise. All I can say is I would ask that you give 1 year of her leadership that will truly be her committee, because she was pretty much, it was dropped on her lap because everything was booked already for her. She didn't have any input on that. So I would like to see 1 more year and see where it goes from that. It's tough when you have committee members that don't follow through on what they say they're going to do. There are that do, but when they don't, it all falls back on Paulette, and she did almost a lot, well, I don't want to say all the work. She did a lot of the work on her own, and Shane, you can attest to that. There was also another event she didn't want to do. She didn't think they could do it properly and staff it properly, and was talked into doing it.
I very clearly said to do it. When you advertise something, you market something, you finish it. I mean, that's a matter of principle.
But it was early enough in the process they could have canceled it.
We advertised the heck out of it.
And you took donations based on that.
But also the Main Street committed and dropped out of it, and they
But I
committed.
can't control the Main Street.
Correct.
Right.
I have no say over
But
that.
she knew.
She walked into a losing battle there. There's no doubt about that. But that was an event where, when you go down the road of marketing something and committing to it, it's my personal opinion that you don't walk
And
away.
that, once again, that was not her. She did not organize
I absolutely
that.
agree with that. I'll take full responsibility for that.
Mr. Barrett.
I mean, I think unquestionably we should approve this, and then maybe that's a second conversation to have at a distant time. I agree with Brent. Let's at least move forward with one, because I think one of the other parts, at least my understanding, is that it was kind of starting over. Even though some of the events were already there was still a lot to figure out. I don't think a lot of the paperwork got passed on, so it was reinventing what needs to happen with that commission. And anyone that's sat on a commission for a first time, or any group, first time you go through it, there's always a lot of work to get done. You figure out what worked, what didn't work, and then you move from there. And then eventually it's smooth sailing. So I'd like to at least approve the bylaws. Having the bylaws doesn't hurt us at all. It's
No, it
structure
helps
that we need, and maybe that's a conversation for later, in my opinion.
Well, and I agree with that, and I do want to thank Paulette.
Absolutely.
She worked harder than any volunteer needs to, trying to make this work. But I think there has to be feasible ways to
Yeah.
Not lose
control membership
$6,000.
and make sure that people are doing their jobs, and if they're not committed to doing this, that there's a way to address that. I think our attempt at these bylaws, I think, address that.
Covers it.
And I would
Mr. Anderson?
interject that I believe that hopefully we can find some new, fresh volunteers who want to come in and drive the commission itself to make it work and work with Paulette, and not have maybe so much animosity that they've had this past year. So, I mean, I agree. The bylaws, they look very well written. We should give her a chance, absolutely. So, I mean, I don't know if the motion is there to approve this, but I would second it if it is.
We have the motion. It's been properly seconded.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? We have 7 ayes.
Another item, you'll see it in the notes from the meetings, is to, I'll say, rework the protocol as far as scheduling interviews. Right now, as you notice, I have 6 people that are either they want to be reappointed or are interested in serving on a commission that they haven't served on before. And so they might submit something 2 months before a meeting and eventually until it gets to the actual meeting. Then when we schedule their actual interview, sometimes that's another month of time that goes by. And it's not unquestioned that we would have a vacancy that, if it was filled, it would help out, especially something like the Special Entertainment Commission or the Arts Commission, where they have a lot of events and projects that they're working on, and the more people they have, the better. So our recommendation was to simply have Kathy downstairs schedule the interview once it comes in. For the most part, we're interviewing all of these people anyhow. It's not like a decision is being made differently once it gets to this meeting or once it gets to the committee. So I think it would streamline things considerably. So I'd make a motion that our new protocol be that when someone applies for a board or a commission, that they automatically be scheduled for the appropriate interview.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Anders. Discussion? All those in favor? We have 7 ayes.
And that's everything. And actually, then I have. Do you want to review this, Shane?
Well, actually,
Okay.
do you want to do the liquor license
Let's do that
resolution real quick?
first.
Okay. Actually,
Was the hearing prior to tonight's
yeah,
council
no,
meeting?
I thought I put it back in there. Thank you. All right, and this is for the hearing that we had earlier. A resolution approving the transfer of liquor license 9300 from Oliver Shankwells of 1869 South 4th Street, Allentown. And I'll place that in the form of a motion.
Transferring it to 187 Main Street?
Yes, I'm sorry. Transferring it to 187 Main Street.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Anders. Discussion. All those in favor? We have 7 ayes.
Is there anything else that needs to be done with
No, we're good with that.
that? Okay. And then, that's what
Okay, so yeah, you do need, there are some things you need to vote on with the 1803 House map amendment.
okay. Do you want to go over that?
Yeah,
Because
we'll talk about that.
okay.
So you approved the slot line adjustment previously. There's an issue with the map, so we asked them to rewrite just one portion on the map. And what happened was they included on the map in the driveway the ultimate right-of-way. And Rodale was uncomfortable with that, and quite honestly, that wasn't a discussion that we had at planning, and we didn't have a stance on it. 1803 House really didn't have a stance on it either. It just traditionally, when you do something like this, engineers and architects look at that kind of thing and put the right-of-way on there, change the ultimate right-of-way. Rodale saw that, did not feel comfortable with it, so we had asked them to amend the map to eliminate the ultimate right-of-way. So that's the only change that's being made. Now, there are some formalities that have to go with that, and I'll let Attorney Dinkelhocker speak to that.
Yeah, just by way of background, just a little bit more, the ultimate right-of-way you see along Klein's Lane, and if you go to the borough's SALDO, Subdivision Land Development Ordinance, Klein's Lane is a local access street. And under the ordinance, the street actually has to be 50 feet wide. The right-of-way has to be 50 feet. What is existing is 40. The cartway minimum is 33, and what is existing is 24. So typically under a land development plan, and the plan actually, even though it relates to the 1803 house, it also involves the Rodale property, and therefore typically public improvements are made to the entire property that's the subject of the plan. And the public improvement typically, as required by the SALDO, would be the dedication of what is called the ultimate right-of-way. And you have legal right-of-way for a road, which is where the property line is where the property line is. So from the property line, that's your legal right-of-way of the street. The ultimate right-of-way is a concept where you take the extra width that a street is to be so that it's reserved for future use. And under our SALDO, that would be that full 50-foot stretch. Here, it's basically 40 feet, so it's deficient already, but apparently what Rodale was concerned about was they did not want to offer, I think it's roughly 5 feet of land along Klein Street for dedication to the borough to add to what was designated as the ultimate right-of-way being 40 feet. There were waivers granted because of in the previous plan because of issues with street width, so that's not a problem today. The only issue really is that they don't want to dedicate the land. That technically is something that is required by the SALDO. So what we would be doing tonight is doing two things. Number one, a motion to approve a waiver of the provision of the SALDO that requires the dedication of the ultimate right-of-way. And then, assuming that that is acceptable to council, then a motion to approve what is a revised final plan. We do it by resolution. A motion is essentially an oral resolution. We will then follow up with a written decision that can be signed by Mr. Pepe as borough manager, which would then record the decision. We would then have a revised plan which would meet the desires of Rodale with respect to not dedicating this land at this time. If there's later development of this land, those issues can be addressed at that time. So that's the background if anybody has any questions on the legal technicalities of that.
So what should the first motion be so that we can just wait?
First motion should be a motion to waive Section 504.2.b of the SALDO, which requires dedication of right-of-way, so as to allow for the approval of this plan without dedication of right-of-way.
Motion by Mr. Lavenberg. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Barrett. Discussion. All those in favor? We have 7 ayes.
And I make a motion for final approval, for our final
To approve the revised
Revised
final
plan.
plan.
revised final plans.
There you go.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Barrett. Discussion. All those in favor? We have 7 ayes.
And with that, I report progress.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Budget and Finance, Mr. Holzhauer.
Thank you, Mrs. Gilbert. One item on the agenda this evening, which would be the bill list. You can find the bill list under your Budget and Finance tab, and I will read you the resolution. Resolution 2014-39, resolved by Borough Council to authorize payment of the October 6, 2014 bill list as follows. Bill list $215,057.47. Payroll 19 and 20, $213,326.09. Payroll taxes $88,684.34 for a total of $517,067.90. Done this 6th of October 2014. And I'll make that into form of a motion.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Shubsta. Discussion? All those in favor? You have 7 ayes.
You'll also see the notes from the last 2 Budget and Finance meetings. Under your Budget and Finance tab, I'd gladly answer any questions. I don't have anything else for official action. Mr. Labenberg.
First, I'd like to thank Mr. Pepe for saving us $4,000 on the natural gas contract, if you want to call it that. I just would like to see in the future, if we have a situation where we know that he has to get it on a situational thing, that we grant him approval ahead of time, saying, if you find something in the next 2 months, go ahead and, at your own judgment, do that. And I would just like to see that in the future, because I know no one has a problem with this here. I do not have a problem with it, but maybe the next issue might be something where somebody's split, the council split on it. I just don't want to see that situation happen. But I thank him for saving $4,000 for the borough, definitely. My second question is, nothing that's in the bill list, but just a question with regard to, did we purchase a new police vehicle? I see a pickup truck roaming around town. Is that something that was like a new police vehicle we purchased or donated or?
No, we purchased
We
it.
purchased it last year.
Okay.
It was approved last year, but it finally came in.
No, okay. So the vehicles that we normally approve, like the motorcycle, it was budgeted or paid through
was
that?
Yeah,
approved.
it was one of the budgeted
Okay.
vehicles.
We just assume that it's normally going to be a police car. Okay, thank you. That's all.
Mr. Pepe, you foresee yourself having to enter into any contracts before the end of the year that you would have to do in a timely manner? Would there be an electricity bid or
Anything else
those would all
probably
be by
do?
bid, correct?
Yeah, I think we're good with electricity until May of next year.
15.
And we've already done heating oil, gas, all of those are done, so we wouldn't have any, natural gas is really
Yeah,
the one that fluctuates.
If you're asking
the
if
most
I have
by
any
the
more
market.
magic, probably not.
All right. Progress.
Thank you. Community Relations, Planning and Development, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. Nothing for official action tonight, but I want to give all council members an update on two issues that are going on. The Southwest Lehigh Planning Commission met here, I believe it was last Tuesday. We hosted the meeting with 6 municipalities. Just to refresh your memory, this is an ongoing process to revise the Southwest Lehigh Plan. The total project is $180,000. We, as a planning commission, applied to the state for a $90,000 grant. The LVPC, the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, is generously also giving $15,000 through their time and their efforts, which leaves us to divide between the 6 municipalities $75,000, which then equates to, for each municipality, $12,500. This year, we have right now in our budget $7,500. And I'm just, one thing that we're also going to try to do to continue to try to get near that number of $7,500 is that we're going to ask the county for better community grant money that is going to help us to defer the cost as well. So I just ask that the Budget and Finance Committee continues to roll over that $7,500. We will not use that $7,500 in this budget year, but continue to escrow that monies. That is, our next meeting for that is going to be on October 28th at Lower Mac at 7 p.m. The other thing that I wanted to just share with you, the Main Street Partners, Mr. Pepe, if you want to chime in, you can, but their meeting was last week as well, last Wednesday. I'm really excited about what direction they're going in. If you all know that they partnered with the Chamber of Commerce, and with that partnership, they have been able to be successful, I think, and going into a successful direction. The one thing that they've done is Jeff McElhaney is their new board president. He's doing a terrific job, and with Jessica O'Donnell as well as our Main Street Partners manager has done excellent. They're on their way to eliminating their debt. Their debt was at $100,000. They are now getting close through planning. They're going to be at about $50,000. So about half of their debt will be reduced. They did ask myself, previous meeting before the one that Mr. Pepe attended, if they should come and ask for the borough to contribute. And I said that is up to them, and I asked them to put it in a letter form, between $2,500 and $5,000. So look for that letter to come.
We received it. It'll be in your budget binders with
Okay.
the rest of them.
So, but this Ride for Conquer for Cancer ride is going to be a tremendous help to them. It is really a breath of fresh air with this Main Street program. Just kind of, you can see it turning. It's almost a year now, but I would encourage all our council members to kind of take a look at them again and kind of reevaluate. Things have changed, so nothing else for reporting. tonight, so I'll report progress unless there are any questions or concerns.
Anyone have any questions? Hearing none. Thank you. Personal Appeals Part 2. Anyone with a personal appeal, please step forward, sign in, state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes. Hearing none. Borough
No, we
Manager?
got it. No, we haven't
Oh, okay.
Okay. My name is Charles Harder, 582 Glenwood Street, adjacent to Borough Line Park. This is in reference to parking, Borough Line Park, and also the handicap section. A few years ago, I gave up parking on my side of the street in front of my own house for the safety of the children as they're leaving, because the parents have no scruples. When they leave in a hurry, and they back into intersections, and this past weekend was no exception. There was a motorhome that backed into the intersection. It was a mess. Anyhow, there is parking allowed, I think that's the north side of Glenwood Street. And my proposition for the council to look at, and I think Mr. Leidenberg already has that, is to have the one side where there is parking allowed, to have that handicap, because up where the ballpark is flat. And I never really thought about this until I got older. But when you're young, you don't think about walking. And but as you're older, and you get to see the guys with the handicap stickers. Luckily, I don't have any. But they need to be able to get to see their grandkids play baseball. And the only handicap parking by that park is down on the other side, and that is actually for the trails,
That's correct.
which are becoming very, a lot busier. And we really need something up at the top, because if you go around the corner, you're going down a hill again, because we're like at the top of the hill there. And I just wanted council to give that some serious thought, and maybe bring it up for a resolution in the near future.
Thank you. I will put that on the agenda for the Public Safety Committee to
Thank
talk about. And what we normally do is send the traffic officer out there, and he talks to all the neighbors.
Yeah,
and he'll
right.
report back. So,
Oh, let's see. When was the last time? I called the police actually on Sunday, which is the only way they ever come up and patrol. Generally. Every now and then I saw the motorcycle one time, and he went through the park. And that was pretty nice. But generally, there isn't a whole lot of patrol. They kind of skip that street. And if they do, they kind of look and see the parking and say, I wouldn't go. Nothing against their officers. They're great folks, and they do their job well. And this is just minor crap, but it's something that needs to be addressed, because it is a safety issue. Because the kids, there's no sidewalks, and there won't be up in the Stryer section. And the kids, and they're done with the games, they're all happy, and they're the little guys, and they're just walking down the street. They're not watching what they're doing. And the parents sure as heck aren't, because they're backing out. So something needs to be done there, and I think the handicap parking would address that situation. Also, there is a sign up at the end by the park that has no bearing of being there. It was a sign that used to be at the front end, and it has dates on it. That ordinance has no dates. The parking ordinance right there right now has no dates on it. That sign has dates on it, April 1st to August 1st, and that's kind of goofy. Also, I request
check
humbly that they paint the curbs again and put the chevrons with the no parking emblems on the front there, because they're parking by the fire hydrant, et cetera. And for safety purposes, you have your wells right there, so you might want to do something.
May I ask, the sign with the dates you're referring to, is that right by like where the water tower is? Because
Yeah.
I saw that sign there when I was there
Yeah.
last.
I checked the ordinance with Mr. Pepe,
Correct, I know which one you're referring to.
and there is no dates in the ordinance.
Okay, because it's yellow there, but it has the date, so I know people park
Yeah,
there
so it
'cause
kind
it's
of
past that
confuses them.
time.
And, I was talking to one of the guys, and the only thing that matters to them is the painted curbs. They don't even look at the signs. It's just kind of an interesting scenario.
all right. I
Anyhow,
will
thank you very much.
add it to the public safety agenda, and we'll look at it. Anyone else with a personal appeal? Hearing none. President's business, I do need to have an executive session to discuss a legal matter dealing with the fire department. I do not anticipate any action when we return, so we are in recess at 8:05.
I'm good.
Progress, right, Shane?